All right. Well, Susan, if you are ready to go, I think that we can go ahead and start the process of kicking this off.
Okay, I'm ready. So, hi everybody. I'm Susan Brown. I am on the board of our both of our nonprofits here in Missouri that are working to educate about short-term rentals and also to protect our industry from any onerous regulations and legislation, things like that. So, the Missouri Vacation Home Alliance is our state group. I'm the vice president of that group, and KC Short Term Rental Alliance is our city group, and I'm the president of that group. We'll get started. Just to let everybody know, since you're realtors, about the state of the STR market now, I think it's important to talk about KCMO since they're the largest municipality. We do focus quite a bit on them, but we do pay attention to what goes on throughout the entire metro. But there were 2,000 short-term rentals in KCMO prior to 2023 when they implemented much stricter regulations. And those involved a residency requirement. Any new short-term rental in the city of KCMO proper, you must live in the home if it's in a residential zone. If it's in a commercial zone, you can theoretically get one in an investor type property and a freestanding property. However, it has to be 1,000 feet from any other current registered short-term rental, and those spaces are pretty much full. So that took us from 2000 in 2023 down to less than 600, really probably less than 500 now. Many of those people moved to the suburbs or switched to MTR. What MTR means is a midterm rental. That's 30 days and above, and that is regulated just like a long-term rental. Most are licensed, enforcement is plentiful, but the days of easy money are gone. Short-term rental income, I would say, is the same as about the same as long-term rental net because you're paying everything. You pay as a short-term rental operator, you're paying the electricity, the trash, the lawn care, all of that. And so as supply has increased everywhere outside of KCMO, that's also put downward pressure on pricing. 2026 should be better with the World Cup. And however, I think supply is really surging. I saw the Kansas City Star had a great article this morning on that. There are over 4,000 short-term rentals now metro-wide because the municipalities are temporarily suspending their regulations. Property tax reclassification is the latest threat to our industry. I'll talk about that real quick. So, county tax assessors have been reclassifying our properties from residential. These are residential homes in residential neighborhoods. And they're reclassifying them as commercial. It's just a handful of counties, about a dozen out of 114. However, we do not want that to spread because it is so deadly. The economics do not work when you triple the tax bill, and it's not fair. So in 2025, we first introduced our legislation, and it passed the House overwhelmingly, but did not make it through the Senate before time ran out. We reintroduced it this year. We have bipartisan support. We have a Democrat that has also filed it, a local Kansas City Democrat, Maggie Nuremberg, and then Ben Brown in the Senate, those two senators, and then Senator Chris Brown is also from Kansas City. So Kansas City is really driving this. So it has unanimously passed both Senate and House committees, and we're waiting for that to be put on the calendars in the for all the chambers to vote. We have support from Missouri Realtors. Thank you so much. That means a lot. And also the Missouri Chamber as well as others. Stop me if you have any questions, but I'll just keep going. So in 2025, it actually happened here. The reason it's so important now that we stop this from happening quickly in this session is that anyone that's getting ready to put their home up as an STR is at grave risk of getting reclassified as commercial. It happened in Jackson County in 2025. And that tax assessor reclassified as commercial properties that had only been operated one day as a short-term rental. in your primary, she did primary residence. She just pulled all of the short-term rental permit holders in KCMO and reclassified them. It was dramatic. It was awful. So we did get a friendly Jackson County legislator to override that, and we have until 2027. Gives us 2 years to pass the legislation. So if you're doing it in Kansas City, Missouri proper, you are safe from reclassification because of that county ordinance. Well, that's good news. We've also talked to several other counties, Platte and Clay. Those current assessors don't have any plans to reclassify. This just kind of gives you the lay of the land about how unfair this is, how arbitrary some counties are doing it, some are not. So regulation, we'll talk about that real quick. Kansas City, Missouri, we just talked about it. Only in the residential zone, only in the residential areas you must live in the home. Other municipalities, this is a really good link. The Mid-America Regional Council has a great link, and it talks about it gives a link to everyone that has a current ordinance. You can see the updates because it takes you directly to the city website. And then for the 2026 games, you can see about a dozen are expanding their ordinances. Three that I know of and this is not a comprehensive list, it's changing rapidly, but several are staying the same. A couple have added just very minor registration processes. And then Blue Springs, interestingly, is proposing one that's kind of similar to Kansas City, Missouri with the residency. So I would go either call the municipality if you're selling a home or you have a buyer that's interested. Be sure to check that website. So this I'm very excited about. We do have to hopefully kind of bring some continuity to all the ordinances. You all, the KCRAR, has a model short-term rental ordinance out there. And I think James was the driver on this, and I'll let him talk a little bit more about it. But in general, the three core principles are, maintaining our property rights, the residential use classification is cited in there, and then parity with long-term rentals, treating them equal. So James, did you want to say anything about the rental ordinance?
Sure, Susan. I very much appreciate that. And I really want to thank you and your organization. You've been tremendous partners in helping to craft this legislation. Just for everyone's awareness, I'll give you a little bit of our elevator pitch on this exact topic. Our Public Policy Committee had worked back in April to craft model legislation for cities and counties to help them guide short-term rental conversations. One thing that we've often found when interacting with local government is that while well-intended, there's often a lack of awareness or education on how to best formulate regulations around short-term rentals. So we looked at national trends, national best practices, and put together a model ordinance that we can share with local governments to kind of help them get a head start on crafting their own regulations. So it outlines, as Susan said, things such as residential use classification. We certainly stress property rights as a core tenet of the legislation. And we've successfully shared this with, I want to say, about a dozen governments now, and we're continuing to do so. Short-term rentals are a large issue for KCRER. It's something we continually monitor, and there is a copy of it. If you copy and paste the URL in the group chat right now, it will take you to our model ordinance online, so you can read that for yourselves, but happy to answer any questions on that front. All right, Susan, back to you.
Okay. So the big games, the 2026 games. It shows a picture. The next few slides will really be the remainder of the presentation is really about that. So the schedule, hopefully everybody knows. I love this slide because it shows the 4 regular matches, then the round of 32 match, and then our quarterfinal match. So starting June 16th through July 11th. Then FanFest is another big opportunity that runs from 18 days from June 11th to July 11th, but it's only open, you see it's not 30 days, it's these 18 days. And here's a mock-up of what it will look like. It will be at the World War I Museum. That should be, some people will just be here just to go to that. So a lot of people will be in Kansas City, just just to be close to their teams and to everything that's happening. So there are 16 other host cities across. Mhm. Does somebody have a question? Maybe not. Okay, 16 host cities across North America. We just talked about the matches, the fan fest, and then the base camps. So we offered 3 base camps and we got 4. Assuming everybody has seen those: Argentina, England, Netherlands, and Algeria. Algeria will be at the University of Kansas. The other 3 will be in the KC Metro. Those are very, very exciting because they bring their fans will stay here too. So I love this out from our KC committee, the Connect KC, the transportation, because we're not a great city for transportation. We're very spread out, but they are hiring buses, like doubling or tripling the buses that we already have. And these will be, for example, my properties are in the Northland. And so we can drop people off at the airport, boardwalk, or in Liberty. So these are great places if you have clients that are looking for short-term rentals to also show them this and how can help with the transportation needs. Probably also heard these statistics. So it's 650,000 visitors. We only have about 65,000 hotel rooms within 100 miles. So there is a big lack of visitor housing. Mid-May to mid-July, average stay is going to be 10 days. 54% of the visitors will be international. Estimated $105 million in total economic impact across the KC Metro. Airbnb hosts projected to welcome about 11,000 of these guests and nearly $6 million in total host earnings, averaging about $3,500 per host during the tournament. This is very important, and I think it's one of the reasons, particularly KCMO expanded their ordinance. They heard loud and clear from the NFL draft that the economic impact did not spread out into the neighborhoods. It was very confined. Just a small group of people benefited from that. And I know they have said they really wanted the entire community to be able to benefit. Here's a really important slide about our occupancy. KC has the highest occupancy for any estimated occupancy for any host city for the World Cup. This is from our friends at AirDNA. This is our big data company that helps us. But this is the line that shows you the occupancy in all the host cities. And you're starting out with Miami, LA, San Francisco, Houston, and look at little old Kansas City. This is why our occupancy is so high. The blue bar is number of hotel rooms. The red bar is short-term rentals. And I also think it's interesting that you can see how few short-term rentals we have here. We are very well regulated, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. Some people feel like that we might impact affordable housing, or that there's just so many STRs. There's really not. If you look at our city versus others, the only 2 on this chart that have fewer short-term rentals are both in Mexico. So I love this chart. It tells a lot. Rates, we're looking at 160% overall average rate increase, and you can see these top bars are the spikes. This is a normal year where you spike on the weekends for your rate increases, and then this will be the estimate for the World Cup, again from AirDNA. Pricing estimates, this is really hard. People ask me this every day. I think you can probably tell people about $200 a night per bedroom. So 4-bedroom would be $800 a night. Will that hold up? I don't know. Nobody knows. AirDNA has a really great calculator here. You can put in your address because, of course, the closer you are to the stadium, to Arrowhead, the more money that you can command. And this will likely change as we get closer and know a little bit more. Any questions for that on that particular area? Okay. This is so we have our group is both of our groups, our state group and our city group, is very interested in education because it takes a lot to run a good short-term rental. We want to show the world what a great place Kansas City is. We want to be part of the solution. We want them to want to bring their businesses here or move here someday. So we want them to have a good experience. So we want everyone to be educated. We have put on 2 hosting crash courses in person they are only available via recording now, but they were day and a half workshops for people that are first time hosts and experienced hosts to learn more about how to do it right. So I'm not going to go through everything in this venue for you all, but you will have these to take with you. Um, with that said, permits, you've got to call your municipality. We already talked about how everything's changing very quickly. You've got to make sure you are legal. What got us in trouble with Kansas City, Missouri in 2023 was 2 things. It was a joint effort. It was a group effort. Kansas City, Missouri wasn't enforcing their ordinance, and then people weren't getting their permits. So we ended up with a large number of illegally operating short-term rentals. We do not want that to happen again. Please do not let your clients, do not advise and I know you won't, but just tell them how important it is. They've got to get their permits if they want to continue, if we want to continue having short-term rentals. Security, you can have exterior cameras, nothing indoors. You can see the rest of the list. Digital locks are very great that you can change with each guest. International visitors, this is a good one. So most everyone else drinks tea. So electric tea kettles are really important. They're universal plugs. Translation, if you're using the Airbnb app that has a built-in translator, it works very well. I've used it for my properties. Amenities are important. You can command more for hot tubs, pools, things like that. But you do need to be careful, make sure you're insured, all that. Interior design, you want to make sure that's updated because these people are going to be paying a lot and they want to stay in a nice place. Photos and staging, highly recommend you hire professionals. Furniture, you can take all your stuff out and put in commercial grade sofas and mattresses, that sort of thing. The most important things are the mattresses, the sheets, the pillowcases. Those are pillowcases. Those are really, really important. And then charging stations. That's something that you don't think about when you're living in your home, but you definitely need to have extra charging stations. Home inspections. There are a few minutes. I think there's one, and James can correct me if I'm wrong, that I know of that requires a third party. That's KCK, right, James? But it's very important that you self-inspect. So, and then I think also James has that in that short-term rental model ordinance, that self-inspection is the way to go. But there are several people, these are local companies. Pillar to Post has a short-term, they will come out and look at your home. And I also want to put a plug in for the American Red Cross. They attended our crash courses, provided first aid kits because you want to make sure you've got all the safety equipment there. And they've got a lot of good resources on their website as well. Insurance. So Airbnb has an insurance product called Air Cover that everyone uses. It's typically not enough on its own. You need to call your insurance agent. You'll probably need a special short-term rental endorsement on that. Booking platforms. How do you get seen? How do you get bookings? And those are typically 3 major booking platforms. Airbnb, I'd say they have 80% of the market, VRBO, and Booking.com. Booking.com is used by a lot of international guests. A lot of our domestic, Booking.com hasn't been used domestically as much. It had some issues. They have really come a long way in improving those. So if you're only listing one property, my opinion is just use Airbnb. It has everything you need. But if you're listing on multiple platforms, all 3 platforms, you need to have some kind of a software so you don't have double bookings. And there's a lot of companies out there doing that. Hostfully, OwnerRez, Guesty, hospitable. There's a ton of them. So that those help you manage um, with those multiple platforms. Cleaning. Cleaning is probably the bane of my existence. uh, finding, because it's not like cleaning a regular house. You have to clean the entire refrigerator. You have to look under every bed. You have to, I mean, it is just critical to keep those 5-star reviews. There's Turno is a national organization that in our industry, and then I'll just put a plug in for our local cleaning maids in and out is another local company that does a good job that has experience. So if you're interviewing people, you really want to find out if they have experience, and if they don't, you've got to give them a very clear turnover checklist. Guest screening, that is mostly done on the platforms. Uh, that is something, and there's a lot of settings that you can use. You can put on instant book where they can just book your property, or you can at their leisure. You can be more restrictive where you want to look at their profile. You want to see how many 5-star reviews they've had. It's very important. But as far as their identities and that sort of thing, Airbnb does the best job at this. It's something that Booking and VRBO are improving. Cancellation policies, those you want to make sure those are a little bit different during these high demand events. Use more of a strict cancellation policy. I think it'll be interesting to see those that have booked the high priced properties early in the event now, whether they will cancel those and go if anyone does drop their prices, what might happen. So that'll be interesting to see. Overall pricing strategy. Price Labs is the company that most of the professional managers use to work on their pricing strategy. And they spoke at our crash course. So if you get a chance to purchase that crash course, you can see their whole presentation. But just don't. I think the big news is I think there's been a lot of hype around pricing. So I think people are going to need to get a little bit more realistic about what the pricing is going to be and adjust those accordingly. Tax implications. Wow, this one's big. So in Kansas City, Missouri, you pay sales tax to the city, county, the state, and you pay a lodging tax, 7.5% plus $3 a night. And you pay income tax, you pay property tax, you pay personal property tax. Airbnb will typically remit that sales tax, making it a little bit easier to the municipality, but not that lodging tax. Other platforms don't remit anything. It's all up to you. So you do need to track your gross revenue, your expenses, cleaning fees, platform fees, and to give to your CPA at the end of the year for your income taxes. So there's a lot of tax implications. So make sure you have a CPA that's familiar with short-term rentals. And there are several across the metro. Should you do this yourself or get a professional manager? I personally, I own several properties. I use a property manager. I self-manage the basement of my own home, right? Just on Airbnb. Very simple. You're just going to have to think about, these are the questions to think about. Do you want to be, I love this one. Am I comfortable handling complaints? No, I don't want to hear about the complaints. Let the property manager do that. So it just depends on your personality. Professional managers, some of them are taking even more. There's very few that are actually offering management short term for the World Cup. These are two, Al Stays and a couple, Jay and Jenny O'Brien, which you might know. They're realtors, and they may be taking more than 30%, depending on when your clients are starting the operations, because the closer we get to the games, the more scrambling there will be. So, but it does reduce stress. I highly recommend you think about property managers. And again, just that we are really wanting to share our Midwest hospitality with everyone, and we want them to do it right. I would highly recommend that if you have clients that are interested, or you're interested yourself, purchase our recording from that day and a half crash course. You don't have to look at every recording. It's plug and play. You can look at the pricing presentation, regulation, cleaning, safety, taxes, and insurance. So pricing is on the screen. There's a $50 off code if you want to put in KCSTRA. And then really how you can help join MOVA if this is a clientele that you're interested in serving, you can get get on our email update list so you can help your clients. We have a private KC STRA Facebook group that's free. We have monthly in-person meetings. We do have several realtors that do attend our meetings so they can connect with our members. We have about 1,200 members on that private Facebook group, and it's been growing dramatically. I'm also interested in speaking at other groups that you might be aware of. And here's my contact information. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions. I'm always available to answer questions. And also our Facebook site is a really great place to get questions answered. Facebook group, I mean. That's all I have, James.
Well, Susan, thank you very much. That was very informative, and I know our members would find that to be quite helpful. Just for the good of the group, one thing I did want to add is when it comes to your local regulatory requirements, your tax compliance, please, please, please call your municipality, call your county. Do not take it upon yourself to figure everything out. ChatGPT can solve a lot of problems, but it's probably not going to help you much there. If you are out of compliance, most cities and counties have a penalty or fine structure in place. Save yourself some dollars and check with your local government before you do anything related to STRs. Susan, I did want to ask you one question is a lot of the conversation around this topic is centering around the World Cup. What do you believe the landscape's going to look like once the World Cup comes to town and picks up? Do you think that we're going to continue to see as much local engagement with STRs? What do you envision the marketplace looking like, let's say, in the next year?
I think it depends on how it goes for the World Cup. If we have a lot of illegal entrants into the markets, if they are upsetting the neighbors, if they're not good neighbors, and that's one thing that I forgot to include. We did have a good neighbor uh, policy course at our crash course, and you've really got to talk to your neighbors, make sure they have your phone number, make sure that they're comfortable calling you if there's if there's anything that they have a question about or any concerns. But you really need to respect your neighbors. We need to be good neighbors so we can continue to do what we love and share our city with our guests. I think it will depend on how it goes, James. I think if it goes good, and I do anticipate that it will go well, we have educated a lot of people. We've had a lot of interest in all this education, and the cities are are being good about enforcement. That was a problem before when they weren't enforcing the parties, when they weren't doing that. That was an issue. So I anticipate it'll be good. I think there'll be a continued uh, just a slight increase in interest, but it's still a pretty tough business because of the increase in the expenses and the decrease in the income. So have I not answered your question enough, James? I don't know.
No,
But
no,
it's
that was
definitely interest will
perfect.
definitely decline a little bit.
Well, I know I'm very personally excited about the future of the market. I think this is a great first step to opening up another great economic opportunity to our property owners here in the region. Susan, do you have anything else for the good of the group, or do we have any questions from the audience?
If there, oh, Betty, we're going to say something? No. If there aren't any questions, I will say that this is one of the last bastions of non-corporate ownership that we have. So there are almost no corporations that are taking over the short-term rental market. These are all small business owners because you're graded after every stay, and the corporations have not figured that out. So they're still exclusively in the long-term rental space. And so I'm just excited that it's a place that since the late 2000s, this long it's gone without being overtaken and overrun with big corporations is amazing. And it's an amazing place where people can still supplement their income, or it's supplementing my retirement. And it's just awesome for small business owners. I love small business, and I love that about this business.
Well, Susan, thank you so much for your time this morning. We really appreciate it. We know you have a very busy schedule between your personal life and your advocacy that you do on behalf of the industry. If anyone ever needs to get a hold of Susan, please see her contact information on the screen. Of course, always feel free to reach out to us at KCRAR, and wishing all of you a great remainder of your day.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, James.